breaking news out of the war in Ukraine. Fox News can confirm that Ukrainian forces have struck Russia using long-range U.S.-made missiles.
Hey guys, welcome back to Who's Up Next, a channel dedicated to finding the truth behind politics. Today, we're going to discuss something that is being downplayed all across media, the possibility of World War III. I know this is a grim topic, but people need to hear about it. We're going to watch some news clips and then discuss.
President Biden approved their use just days ago. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin is approving a revised nuclear doctrine that lowers the threshold for a nuclear response. Meanwhile, our NATO allies, Finland and Sweden, are now telling citizens to prepare for war. Sweden out with this new video informing residents on how to stockpile food, baby food, medication, and how to seek shelter during a nuclear attack. Sweden also sent out more than 5 million of these pamphlets there on your screen. And Finland posted one on its website, both urging citizens to prepare for the possibility of war.
To put this in perspective, Finland borders Russia and is an active member of the NATO alliance. Under Article 5, if war is declared on an ally faction, we also have to enter war. With Finland putting out nuclear warnings, I'd say the situation is pretty serious.
And posturing, though, Kaylee, if we talk about the posturing of Putin and the mission creep we talked about yesterday, the North Koreans, but the reality is Finland and Sweden are telling their citizens now to prepare for nuclear war, and that seems incredibly hyperbolic. Or is reality truly there, right over a fine line? Is that where we really are?
It is where we are.
Yes, ma'am.
Biden has made a mess of the world.
They are exactly right. This is the seriousness of the situation. And look at the setup. Biden had 3 years to allow Ukraine to use our missiles, and on his last 6 weeks, he pulls the trigger. He can barely talk, let alone make military decisions. So who actually authorized those strikes?
Joe Biden made a major announcement regarding the war in Ukraine, which could have dire consequences for the world, before wandering off into the Amazon rainforest. Yes, the bizarre footage came as Joe Biden approved the use of long-range US-supplied missiles by Ukraine to get deeper into Russian territory. The Biden administration will allow Kiev use of ATACMS to strike Russia for the first time since the war began. The news emerged from the Biden administration as Joe Biden was in the Amazon rainforest on Sunday, announcing a multi-million-dollar plan to reforest the Amazon. The president took no questions about the bombshell Ukraine announcement during his press conference, instead bizarrely just walked off into the rainforest.
Okay, I'm about to go off. Does anybody actually believe this man, Sunglasses Joe, is authorizing missile use against the nuclear superpower? Who is actually calling the shots? We need to find this out. The people need to know.
And President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, appeared to threaten Russia.
The plan to strengthen Ukraine is the Victory Plan, which I presented to our partners. One of its key points is long-range capabilities for our army. Today, there's a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions. But strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. They certainly will.
Yeah, real good idea, Zelensky. Threaten a man with a bigger nuclear arsenal than ours. He could end the war tomorrow with the click of a button if he wanted to.
Russian President Vladimir Putin then responded to the news, not mincing his words and threatening to use nuclear weapons in the war.
In the updated version of the document, aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state, but with the support of a nuclear state, is proposed to be considered as their joint attack on Russia. Russia will also consider the possibility of using nuclear weapons when receiving reliable information about a massive launch of means of aerospace attack and their crossing of our state border. This includes strategic and tactical aircraft, as well as cruise missiles and drones, hypersonic and other delivery vehicles. Russia reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in case of aggression, including if the enemy, using conventional weapons, poses a critical threat.
In other words, if any nuclear-armed country aids Ukraine, they will consider it a joint attack. If you fly planes into their territory, they will use nukes. If you use bombs, they will use nukes. If you cross their state line, they will use nukes. Maybe instead of all the Dems simping over the Kamala machine meltdown, maybe we should start paying attention to the fact Putin has revised a nuclear doctrine.
He spoke about this possibility a few months ago, warning against the direct participation of NATO countries in the war.
Саму природу конфликта. Это будет означать, что страны НАТО, США, европейские страны воюют с Россией. А если это так, то, имея в виду изменение самой сути этого конфликта, мы будем принимать соответствующие решения, исходя из тех угроз, которые нам будут создаваться.
Online commentators are in uproar about Biden's aggressive move, particularly as he is at the end of his term. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said, on his way out of office, Joe Biden is dangerously trying to start World War III by authorizing Ukraine the use of US long-range missiles into Russia. Enough of this. It must stop. Incoming President Donald Trump warned against increasing conflict in the region.
We have never been closer to World War III than we are today under Joe Biden. A global conflict between nuclear-armed powers would mean death and destruction on a scale unmatched in human history. It would be nuclear Armageddon. Nothing is more important than avoiding that nightmare. We will avoid it, but we need new leadership. Every day this proxy battle in Ukraine continues, we risk global war. We must be absolutely clear that our objective is to immediately have a total cessation of hostilities. All shooting has to stop. This is the central issue. We need peace without delay.
One of the most informed men in the world is telling us that this war needs to end, and everyone's just carrying on with their everyday lives like it's no big deal.
This is the 11th large-scale attack by Russia on Ukraine's energy infrastructure so far this year. And throughout the night, according to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, 90 missiles and 100 drones fired at targets across Ukraine. Putin saying this was a response to the use of US-supplied ATACMS to hit targets inside of Russia, but it's part of Moscow's persistent bid to erode the infrastructure here, the heating, the electricity that's going to keep the lights on and Ukraine warm through what's already becoming a dark and freezing winter. In fact, Zelensky said that some of these caliber missiles that were fired and used cluster munitions, particularly harmful to civilians, to hit some of their targets. But it was too, the Kremlin head Vladimir Putin said, a response to the use by Ukraine of US-supplied ATACMS missiles to hit targets inside of Russia in the last weeks or so. Escalation here, it seems, almost daily. And Putin taking opportunity today not only to refer to why this occurred because of the ATACMS, but also potentially hold out a kind of branch of some description towards President Donald Trump coming to the White House in January, calling Trump an experienced and capable man and suggesting potentially that he might be able to find a, quote, solution. Now that is surely a nod to the diplomacy which many believe Trump will adopt as the US policy going forwards in January, a nod to that certainly through his appointment of a Ukrainian special envoy to Ukraine, and that is General Keith Kellogg.
So I wanted to break down a couple of reports I found on the state of the war with them. As it stands, Russia has taken approximately 20% of Ukraine, give or take, with both parties rushing offensives in prep for the negotiation table when Trump comes into office. If Russia would stay on par, then in 3 years Russia would control roughly half of Ukraine at their current speed. The reason I'm saying this is the media is making it seem like Russia is getting slaughtered in this war. With the media saying in 2022 Russia had lost almost 400,000 troops confirmed by Ukrainian officials. However, President Zelensky reports in 2024 Ukraine has only lost 31,000. So what you're telling us is that Russia is losing 13 troops to 1, which just isn't true. I do agree Ukraine put up more of a fight than they thought they would. However, I have a feeling Ukrainian losses are much higher than they'll ever report to us. It just goes to show what they'll portray to us to justify spending American taxpayer dollars on a foreign war.
Well, it's an interesting choice because, Jim, at the beginning of the invasion, now nearly 3 years ago, Keith Kellogg was very much in the we can't let the Russians do this or gain from the war camp. Like many Democrats and Republicans, but mostly Republicans, he's now moved to we need an armistice or some kind of cessation of fighting on the way to a bigger peace plan. Now, I actually think this makes sense, but what they're going to have to get over, Jim, is the thought that at the end of the day, the Russians will have gained maybe 20% of Ukraine. Because you can have an armistice, but if it's like the one in between North and South Korea from 1953, the North gained territory from it.
Right. I mean, it's all pointing in that direction in terms of Trump's picks for his foreign policy team. I mean, I guess Senator Marco Rubio might lead you to believe otherwise, but it does seem as though the incoming president is going to put some pressure on Ukraine to give up territory.
Republican or Democrat, we have to be realistic here. This is a real threat, and Trump has had better relations with Russia than any other president before him. If anybody can stop the bloodshed, it's him. To summarize, the situation is real and serious. Who knows what could happen over the next 6 weeks before Trump returns? I think it's self-sabotage what Joe Biden or whoever calling the shots is doing to the country, playing with fire to say the least. With North Korea also now aiding Russia, I'd say tensions are at an all-time high. But I'm going to keep an eye on this and try to keep everybody informed. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed. Thanks.